Thank you, Senator, for giving us this time to talk. I, I have a couple questions real quick. You've been campaigning, obviously, around Michigan for quite some time, but since the political atmosphere since 2016 elections have kind of changed, what's different about this campaign?
Well, for me, it's really not any different because even though it's very divisive in Washington, I suit up every week and go in and fight for people of Michigan and come home on the weekend. And I expect people want me to get things done for them, and that's what I do all the time. And so I'm fortunate I'm able to get things done across the aisle because of the relationships I have and experience and seniority. And just this last week was able to get the SULOCs authorized with a specific amount of money in legislation that will be signed by the president so we can move forward with the locks. That took a long time, but I never gave up and we were able to get that done. I also had a bill that was signed by the president 2 weeks ago that our community pharmacists brought to me that stops a practice where they were being banned from telling us the lowest price you could pay for prescription drugs at the counter. And so there are many things. The Farm Bill, adding dollars for rural water and sewer that I've been able to get in, high-speed internet, all of the things that I've been able to get done, even though these are very divisive times. And I think that's my job, put my head down, make sure I'm protecting the Great Lakes, make sure I'm fighting for the UP. And I just have to say that the bill that I had signed at the White House was something I actually announced in Ishpeming not too long ago, just a few months ago, when I was out talking with our pharmacists, and they brought this to my attention about what was happening on the cost of prescription drugs.
Uh, One of the things you just mentioned there was the Farm Bill and getting more money for the water infrastructure in the rural areas. How is that directly going to affect the residents here in the UP, and when can they start to see some of that effect start to happen?
Well, we've put money in this year's budget, about $600 million more for high-speed internet for communities to apply for, and the same with water and sewer. There's more money in the budget, and then I've been able to also add additional dollars through the Farm Bill. And so the Farm Bill is not completely through. We passed it in the Senate with the largest bipartisan vote ever, but we still have to negotiate with the House. So the Farm Bill part of it in rural development will be a while, but there is money in the current budget for this year, and I'm working with communities to be able to receive funds right now. I should also mention that there's a number of important things in the current budget this year. I've been able to bring in additional dollars for the Jacobetti home and for our VA hospital in Iron Mountain. You know, so many important efforts to maintain and upgrade facilities that are needed for our veterans, as well as fixing some of the issues around veterans' choice and access to health care. So working every single day, and I think that's what people expect me to do.
Do you think that, or what do you think is going to be the timetable for the SULOCs and the addition of a new lock there?
Well, finally, the fact that we have it officially authorized at the funding level, just slightly under $1 billion, means that we are finally in a position to be able to go to the Appropriations Committee this coming year and begin the process of funding the engineering and the construction. So it'll take a few years in order for that to happen, but we've not been able in the past to get beyond the Army Corps of Engineers, who has consistently said for years that this was not a major economic issue and national security issue if the lock went down, and which of course is absolutely false. And so we finally got through and got a study that convinced them that we should move forward with the locks, and this will be tens of thousands of jobs.
You authored the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. and obviously the Great Lakes are a big part of Michigan here and the natural resource. What are the people of the Upper Peninsula going to see come out of that directly?
Well, we have done many things in terms of working to open up the beaches around Marquette and Deer Creek, being able to clean it up, and we've seen not only the Great Lakes directly, which the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative addresses, but our rivers and streams, and being able to take down dams and open up areas for kayaking and fishing, and as I said, open up beaches, clean up beaches, and there's a whole range of things that we do with the Great Lakes Restoration funding. And so it is very important to us. And when the president decided to zero it out of the budget, I went to work as co-chair of the Great Lakes Bipartisan Task Force to put together a coalition to protect every penny, which we did. They then came back in this budget and tried to do it again, and we had to put together the coalition again. So I don't care how many times it takes, I'm going to make sure that we keep those dollars, because we know how critically important they are. And even from an economic standpoint, 1 out of 5 Michigan jobs is connected to our water. So this is a big deal.
And speaking of the budget, last week, Mitch McConnell had said something along the lines of the reason why there's a deficit is because of Social Security and Medicare and spending like that. What do you have to say about his comment?
Well, I couldn't believe that Mitch McConnell said what he did. First of all, we pay into Social Security and Medicare from payroll taxes, and people deserve those dollars to be there, and I intend to do everything possible to make sure that they are there for people currently retired and those that are paying into the system now. The fact is that that deficit saw $1.5 trillion added to it because of a tax bill that went mainly to the wealthiest Americans, very little to the majority of people in Michigan. In fact, I'll never forget seeing $50 billion go to the pharmaceutical industry that they gave to their CEOs and investors, $50 billion, and I haven't seen one price on prescription drugs go down. So this was not a good deal for us in Michigan. It added $1.5 trillion to the national debt, and now Mitch McConnell and the Republicans are saying we've got to fill in that debt by cutting Medicare and Social Security. So no way in the world. I should also mention that my opponent in a similar fashion has said that he doesn't think Medicare and Social Security and veterans benefits should be set aside as mandatory funding separate from the yearly budget, and that's totally wrong also. We don't want Medicare and Social Security or VA benefits being caught in the political back and forth of the yearly budget. You pay into that, you have every right to know that that's going to be there for you, and that's what I'm committed to make sure happens.
Senator, I appreciate you getting back to us and having this interview.
Absolutely.